Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another special recap of the Hapless Heroes podcast. I'm Francesco, and if you're just joining us, if you don't know by now, I'm one of the DMs and hosts of the show. I also play characters as like Felix Fizzlebottom, my changeling warlock, but he mostly is just a gnome, and my Tabi Asermat, the little kid turned young adult from episode 1 of this podcast.
And he does mean turned.
Yeah. And I'm just going to go around and introduce some of the other wonderful cast members we have in attendance tonight, and who they play. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's happened so far since episode 100 when we did our last recap.
Around then.
Yeah, around that time.
Around that time. I think the recap was actually a few episodes before that, if you're following at home.
Sure.
If you're playing the home
Technically
game.
correct.
Right. I release these episodes and I can't even remember when the fuck we did them because I'm just the worst.
There's been a bajillion of them, so.
Right.
I'm reading episode 97 as the last recap.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah.
That's why we keep you, Zach.
I know my numbers.
But before we get to you, Zach, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mike on my left.
Hi.
Mike, who do you play?
Well, I play the amazingly annoying yet very charismatic Lord Captain Quinn Southwind.
Yes.
And I also play Murph Isla, who is a cursed wizard in the interns.
Yes. Right, because our heroes at this point now in our adventure have interns that are pretty much just other functional members of the party. Right. We've introduced a bit of a party select mechanic into the game so that at any given adventure, these guys can choose who they want to bring with them. Really shake things up a bit.
Mm-hmm. Now, Murph is a halfling, right?
Murph is a halfling, and Quinn...
Halfling wizard.
And then Quinn is a half-elf bard fighter.
Yeah, multi-class.
Yeah.
Right.
What did we decide Beverly Owen was?
So I was going to bring her up, but I wasn't 100% sure. But thank you for introducing her.
Because
Bev was a human
bard.
Yeah.
Another bard.
For our other new listeners, this is from our spooky special monster party.
Yeah, the one where we had John as one of our guest DMs.
Which was very fun. I really enjoyed that.
She had a terrible situation where she had to
cooperate.
Cooperate with a bunch of creepy, horrible, ridiculous people.
Well, she was
monsters.
Shanghaied essentially.
She was forced to work with them or she would die. So
under threat of being eaten.
Yeah, and we'll definitely we'll touch on that later on in this recap here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on now. Phil, we have to your left. We have Phil. Phil, who do you play?
I play Hedrick Hollinsworth, the entertainer.
I don't think any of us actually really knew his last
Nobody
name.
cares. Nobody cares. He's Hedrick.
Hedrick the
I was
entertainer.
like, I didn't know his last name.
And he is a human bard. He is a college of satire, I think. So he's written as like a jester, but he does enjoy playing music and singing and all in all just inspiring any way he can, no matter his intelligence.
And we'll definitely touch on that later.
My other character is Arasatra. She is a Furbolg druid, circle of the land, super tall. And she is my intern character.
Who was actually just introduced very recently as far as when this episode is coming out.
I feel privileged and honored to have my first intern, and hopefully she can help the rest of the gang.
Yeah, and so for our listeners, Phil joined us actually during this span of time since our last recap as a permanent member of the cast. You've been a guest before. Actually, Hedrick is kind of making his reprisal now as a true party member.
Yeah, jumping from level 5 to level 12 or 11, I think that was a pretty eye-opening experience.
Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Yep.
Moving on to his left, we have my co-host, my dear friend, my compatriot on this this journey that we are co-writing off of each other, Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave. You might know me from such characters as Zero, the little warforged who couldn't.
And then could.
Even.
He's a fighter, right? Zero?
Yes, he is a warforged fighter.
Yeah.
It's all champion fighter with just stuff dumped into archery to use the mechanic of, I don't know, using fighters to just do nothing but damage while having no usable tools whatsoever.
I don't know. He's pretty useful sometimes.
Well, I think
other
if
situations.
this is the Thunderdome, then he is definitely Master Blaster.
But here's the thing. Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you think about it, right? Like Zero's primary function is to destroy things and to build things as a construct of yourself.
Mobile
of
weapons
this,
platform.
Zero giveth and zero taketh.
Yeah. And one of the things that Zero tooketh was, the mantle of godhood that had been previously the god Moradin, god of both war and creation. So now he's carrying both of these things around in this empty shell.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to form something like, more of a personality than he had before, which was honestly just super dry and,
This robot may have a soul after all.
Maybe, even though he's just borrowing it. But also Frankie Wilde, another fun...
one of the OG interns.
Yeah, one of the OG interns, and he's a fun time in a very different way from Zero, whereas, I get to kind of, be flat and, be a surface other people can reflect off of in Zero. Frankie is a jackass. And
Who steals the show.
yes. And just sort of sucks all the other air out of the room. And he is a human bard because, we cannot possibly have enough bard action.
With the personality of a washed-up rock star.
Right.
Yes. Because
Fantastic.
he is a washed-up rock star.
Exactly. Yeah, if anyone is caught up to here, is listening to this recap and has not actually gone, I know people who've waited and then gone back and listened to the intern episodes. Treat yourself.
Yeah.
Treat yourself, because that's when we really just let loose and let the story just happen.
Things don't go off the rails because there are no rails.
Never were. I don't think that Dave and I have ever done much to. And I'm usually the one who runs the intern episodes. Yeah. And I don't think either one of us have ever done very much to prepare for those. We just kind of wing it, and it's perfect.
No, because the classic interns episode is you have all these wild personalities, you set them in a room and scene.
Yes, and if it wasn't Evan, by the way, we're talking to, or my introduction of Dave, for those of you who are just joining the show, because I know a lot of people were actually planning on maybe potentially jumping in here. It's the start of the year, right?
Also, we want these episodes to be pretty evergreen.
Yeah.
People want to listen to these recap episodes 2-3 years from now, just if we're still doing the show then.
Right.
And
holy shit, right.
People just want to get in and have fresh ears with it and
hell yeah.
Get a pretty certain a bite-sized portion of what we're doing here so far.
Exactly. And if it wasn't Evan, like I said about the way I was talking to Dave before, he and I essentially co-written this show without spoiling anything for each other. Mm-hmm. Every adventure we trade off DMing, and all we're doing is just writing a story based on where the other person left off. Mm-hmm. And it's been this amazing creative exercise that we've done the last 3 years, and it's been a great time.
It has. I think we took a map and sort of actually brought a world to life.
That's right. And there was a lot of information in our previous recaps and our episode 00, so you can learn all about the world and all the things that have happened as you go back and check those out. Without forgetting, though, the other two amazing voices at this table.
Hey, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm Zach.
That's right. Hey, Zach, tell us about yourself and your characters.
Here's my deal. I play Paradil Lincolnwoods. He's a gnome fighter. And, he's a little snippy, a little bitter about his disposition. And he's got some pretty sweet swords. He's got quite the arsenal, sharpened, tactful. And, his deal. He's little, but he's got a big personality.
Sure does.
He tends to get very impatient and tends to like to jump into things.
As many fighters are wont to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who else have you played?
He's also very acrobatic.
Oh, he is very acrobatic. What a jump.
I want to nail that, send that home as, very, very much one of his core.
And also now
qualities.
Very strong because he's got those gauntlets of ogre powers. So he's got just strength and dexterity out the butthole.
And unfortunately, a very short-lived bout with the moon shoes. I think the moon shoes should come back for Paradil.
I think we're just going to go ahead and leave those out of this recap. No, I'm just kidding.
We got Paradil Lincolnwoods. He's my main man. We got Pregnart, who is
Sweet.
maybe closest to my analog and my proxy in this story. I can be very sing-song sometimes, and that's one of his core qualities. He's a very sweet frogman. McGoggle is the race name, and he's a sea sorcerer, and he likes to use some ice powers and fire sunbeams out of his mouth. and he tends to like to what is the power called? He brings things to life, such as gazebos.
Yeah, animates some objects, and is also a fantastic chef.
Yeah, let's not forget the healing, curative qualities
Of his cooking?
that is the chicken soup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which
It
we've used on
solves
multiple occasions.
so many of our problems.
Right.
To think like we had the key with us the whole time.
For sure. Yeah, Pregnart's Excalibur is his chicken soup.
And he's probably, of all the characters in our group, interns or main party or whomever is joined, the most wholesome character.
Oh yeah, yeah, pure lovability right there.
And just for everybody who, if you have not been introduced to Pregnart yet, if you, again, just joining us, episode 50.5, Enter Frogman.
Enter Frogman.
Was because I was a dick about numbering episodes for a while, and I'm so sorry for that. Pregnart.
Also a dick about Pregnart.
Okay, so while I initially was resistant to the idea because you were joking with me at the end of an episode about I want to make a frog person.
Yeah.
It was like one of those things. It's a perfect It's Always Sunny intro because it's like you go from no, there's absolutely no way you're going to have a frog character to literally the next episode that releases is
Zach
Enter
has a frog
Frogman.
person.
Yeah. And he quickly became, I think, like so many people's, including mine, like favorite character at this table. No offense to anybody else, but I mean,
Why'd you look at me?
But yeah.
wasn't sure.
Pregnart is also my favorite.
Okay, good. I just wasn't sure that you were gonna, if your ego from Quinn was going to carry
Quinn's
over
ego,
into like,
yeah,
right?
I
Yeah.
know.
But I just try
And
to
he
make him a
sometimes does.
sweetie.
Yeah.
Pregnart just wants to be a sweetie all the time.
Yeah.
And he has a very, very well-spoken inner monologue.
Oh yeah.
So articulate.
But the way he deals with external dialogue, maybe not the most articulate at times. Kind of simple. But quick list of my other ancillary characters. Melvin Illuminuian was a half-elf sorcerer.
From the full play
/
series, yeah.
Librarian from the full. We had a short-lived full play special.
Yeah, for the last one wasn't even full play. I just broke it up into parts because I was like, man, no, 3 hours is way too much for one episode.
Yeah.
It was tough to
Yeah.
do that.
But he was a good guy. And what we got? We got Spike, which he was very, very early on. He's still-
It's from the anti-heroes.
yeah, I think still in the teens in terms of episode numbers.
Yeah.
That was our first like side arc. He was just a human ranger. We have can't forget Spanx Mahoney, which
But
was
we all want to forget Space.
no,
Mahoney.
not me. I'm upset that Spanx was ingloriously terminated as an
The
intern.
only intern.
Yeah, but no
the
one
only
put
intern to be
no
fired.
one. No one actually put a period on that story.
Right, right.
But yeah, he was a halfling arcane trickster rogue. He was great. And I think last, but certainly not least, my best attempt at a Bobcat Goldthwait impression was, and see if you can follow the wordplay here, Liger Silverschleuder. And yeah.
How did I not put that together until right now?
It's really just like beat for beat me
Yeah.
trying to fuck with the name Bobcat Goldthwait. Because thwait, like if you're waiting, you're loitering. Goldthwait is silver schleuder.
My God.
You know, it's very clever if I can be honest.
If I could be modest.
He was a bugbear, and I think I really want to play.
You fucking nailed it.
I know. Well, he was just the most fun to play because I think that whole arc was just a fucking lark.
Yeah,
I really want to play a bad guy.
Definitely virtual and physical high fives to John for that
Yay.
one. Yeah. And we bring up this monster party because that story actually is playing into what's happening today. But
Absolutely.
But speaking of the person who DM'd that arc and one of our other players at this table, we have John. John, tell us about yourself and your characters.
Well, of course, I play Lord Jarrell the Light of House Passer. He's the main character I play. Other characters I play include Dr. Dedu.
Don't forget about race and class.
Oh, yeah. Where do I want to start over?
Just to give Jarrell's racing. Like he's a
So Jarrell's a half elf paladin. And then after that, I would play Dr. Dedu. He's probably my second favorite right now. A former human, what was he, a wizard?
yeah. Now
A
he's
transmuter who turned himself into a Oracocra bird person.
And according to canon, turned Pregnart into
Yes.
the frog
McGonagall.
person he
Yes.
is today.
yeah.
He's still trying to figure out how to undo that. Now, one thing I like to point out with
do not ever undo that.
yeah, well,
Perfect.
we definitely haven't even gotten close to that possibility yet. But I'm not
I think
sure.
that's up to Dedu and Pregnart,
Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah.
It is. It's not. I have no. Choice.
I don't know that anyone on the boat recognizes, or on the airship recognizes that Dedu is Dedu.
No, except for the fact that he just introduces himself as that, but he is now a bird person. Which I should also clarify. I think we've established as canon as well that all Aarakocra in this world are just goose people.
Yes. So he is a goose person.
Yes.
Hashtag honk.
Hashtag honk.
He really keeps to himself. It's just him and Pregnart and whoever like immediately interacts with him, which is none of the main party.
And Pregnart, we shall clarify, definitely recognizes that this is his long-standing friend, Dr.
Yeah.
Dedu.
Yeah, they can feel each other's souls. But the other characters I would be playing, Basha Ironback, the
Whenever you're, I think that was your first intern.
full orc monk. Very fun to play. Hondo, going back to my first actual character on the show.
Hondo the Merciless.
Hondo the Merciless, the now immortal human mercenary.
who's stuck in the Shadowfell.
Yep. Was there any other characters? I think that was it. I think that was the
Yeah,
majority.
because you first joined us as a guest playing Hondo the Merciless for our Fro Play special.
Yep.
So yeah, and speaking of other cast members, I should also notate that we've had a wonderful sort of revolving cast of characters throughout this 3 years of this show. Not joining us tonight, but definitely returning in the future for some episodes, especially before we end this thing. We had James, who could forget that, playing Hoblet the Smasher, playing his dwarf war cleric,
Yep.
who has become everyone's most favorite person to begrudgingly love.
I genuinely love Hoblet.
But he's
my kind of guy.
So crude, so crass.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, a get things done, ride or die kind of friend. He also plays.
And that brings to mind
Yeah.
my other favorite character that I played on the show, Granny Smasher.
Oh yeah.
Hoblet's beloved, irreverent grandmother.
that was actually one of the first episodes we randomly and just were inspired to just break out into song. You wrote the
Yeah.
Smasher Clan song
On the
with
spot,
while we were recording the episode.
yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Bye bye, I'm old. Blew
And
me away.
That title, the episode title was Meet the
Smashers. Yeah.
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 Definitely worth a listen, if not only for the Smasher Clan theme.
Right. But he also plays Stenton Crossbreeze, one of the other interns. He's a Goliath barbarian, and he's also played some other characters. I'll let him talk about those when the time is right. But you can listen to he was part. I mean, he's been part of the show since the very beginning. So he was in all of our side arcs. Like this guy, he currently not joining us because he recently had another beautiful child.
Baby.
Playing that tabletop strategy game called Life.
Right.
I mean, just,
But
a beautiful thing.
he should be returning with us soon. He's told me that he's ready to get back into things. So hope to hear from him soon. And then my brother Massimo was also a cast member on the show for a while, from episode 44 until just during this last gap, between recaps.
Gorgeous Mort.
Playing the gorgeous Mord, the human sorcerer with daddy issues, or half elf sorcerer with daddy issues.
And boy, are those issues.
Yeah, just misguided, chaotic, wild magic sorcerer who had just outfit changes galore. We actually had one of our Discord listeners make a Google Doc with in every episode when his outfit changed, what the outfit was, and what time it occurs in the episode. Thessie, you're the best. Could I just shout you out right now? And then back in the very beginning, we also had Joe playing Ezra, he was a half elf or elf monk.
Yeah.
And he he had to leave the show pretty early on just because work conflicts and stuff like that. But
He decided he didn't want to be a big, huge dork.
First player casual.
I don't know. He's talked to me about at least like coming back to just like resolve Ezra's stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can make that work because I would love
My
to
favorite
make
is
that
when he
happen.
swings in through the window.
Yeah,
crushes
after like
Paradel.
being missing for like three arcs.
Yeah. So as you can see, like we've had a lot of characters, a lot of stories at this table the last 3 years, but let's focus on what's happening, what's been happening since our last recap, since obviously our listeners can just go, like we had, this stuff's on the internet,
Yeah.
but you can go back and find it. We don't want to rehash the same stuff for you. We want to catch you up to now.
Well, I mean, the broad strokes were that we had gotten all the gems and went to Tarantis.
Yes, all these like mysterious scrying gems in this orb, and then those things coalesced into some hideous, disgusting, foul object after, and Vecna ended up returning to the material plane.
Wasn't that Felix's fault?
Actually, yes.
Yeah. If I can just wanted to bring that up and
because I
remind
gave
us of
him.
that.
We had that the bauble,
Right.
right?
Well, if I can insert some just basic details in this world
Sure.
for our new listeners.
Please do.
We got thrown into this thing. We met up as a party in this world where there were like developing problems with the undead. Like something was amiss. The undead were rising out of the graves and just wreaking havoc.
Yeah,
And
absolute
eventually, we found this like very sordid, I guess, underground layer, and we found this necromancer down there, and that's how we got started on this like gem searching mission.
Yep.
And so that was like a big, huge, like long arc, or long
Huge, yeah.
sense of arc where we were finding these gems.
Went all over the world doing that.
They were somehow connected to this necromancer, which was connected to this larger problem of the undead.
And the god of the god of unlife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just swarms of undead across the entire world.
Yeah.
And so, very good, I guess, what's it, MacGuffin.
Yeah.
And these scrying gems. We just searched high and low for these things and
Literally.
eventually collected them all and they melded into one thing, right?
Yes, that was actually after this whole Vecna ordeal, though, is when
Right.
Felix put those together.
Right.
Because we also had from the Igor's challenge story arc, the bauble.
Right.
Of I forgot I forgot the full name.
Splendiferous bauble.
Yeah, the splendiferous bauble. Where like the first time you look at it, it makes you feel compelled to give up the most valuable
A
possession
lot
on
of
your
great
person.
moments came out of that bobble, but
Well,
then there's the one really,
yeah.
really bad moment.
Felix accidentally handed that to someone that he thought was the mayor of Tarantis, but was actually Vecna in
Whoops.
disguise.
Yeah, oopsie.
Oh, boner.
Yeah, and Vecna
Felix's
used
biggest
that
boners.
to essentially gain control of the entire city of Tarantis, which is the largest city on this continent.
Yep.
The most technologically advanced, because science and magic play a big part in this world, right?
It's like America's Lincoln, Nebraska, basically.
I don't know what he's talking about.
The most important part in the country.
Our
is what he
European
said.
listeners are very confused now that
It's
they're
like a
looking up
huge
Lincoln, Nebraska.
metropolis,
Right.
technologically advanced,
Really ahead
great
of
public transportation.
Right. So,
I hope we don't have any Lincoln
I love that that's your fucking answer. I mean, no shade on Lincoln, Nebraska, but it's just it's not exactly the things that he's describing.
I'm not even being sarcastic. That
He doesn't even have to use air quotes.
was a good one. I heard those.
What ended up happening though is that Vecna ended up using this bauble to gain control of the entire city and then suck it out of this plane of existence and yeet
We
you guys
barely-
right the fuck out of
yeah.
there.
Hashtag suck it. Out of existence.
You yote themselves out.
Is that the past tense of yeet?
It is.
It is
It's
now.
not.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so you guys were yoted? Nope, I like yeeted better.
Yeah.
No, just yote.
Yeah.
We were yote.
You were yoked out of Tarantis on a derelict
And so
for-
rewind a little bit. So
Sorry.
who did the thing in Tarantis again?
it was Felix.
No. I mean,
Vecna.
Vecna, the god of all that is evil and undead.
Yeah.
he accidentally. Yeah.
Bad
So
guy.
Felix accidentally handed this hugely powerful thing to,
To literally like the worst
worst
person he
person.
could have had him to do.
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
person levitated in grand fashion in Grand Hall in Tarantis and bubble popped the entire city out of
in
existence.
the process,
Yes.
he killed Felix, right? We brought
Yes.
the finger of death, Felix.
Yes, but Felix had a feature that allowed him to save himself from death
right.
as a pact of the undying.
Now, during the spoiler episode, do we want to unravel that at all, or
Yeah, I mean, Felix is a pact of the undying warlock. He's made a pact with
so not only a
whether
changeling,
wittingly or unwittingly has made a pact with a otherworldly being.
Yes.
In Felix's case, his backstory is a little bit more about the fact that his powers came as a result of the foul upheaval, which we've described in the past as like sort of this cataclysmic event 160 years ago that caused all these undead problems that we're having today.
Yeah, pretty morally convenient.
But he doesn't necessarily know where his power comes from, but he knows it's being borrowed from somewhere.
because I know you've used that feat among the dead a number of times, but I don't think any of the characters have really
Yes.
caught.
So yes, it essentially allows him to come back from the dead once.
And
per day.
undead creatures don't target you,
Yes, they have to roll a save to actually attack me.
Yep.
Because I'm, I guess, like partially undead.
which has really come in handy, especially when we were in spacesuits. Anyway,
That's for the listener. You guys can go ahead and forget that information now. So, yeah,
Yeah, we'll explore Felix and
I'm sure we will.
that.
Well, Felix ended up though with this artifact that you mentioned, Zach. These gems, and we learned that it was the third eye of Vecna, because the eye of Vecna and the hand of Vecna are already legendary items, and we didn't want to borrow from that shit. We wanted to make our own. So Vecna's got a third eye, bitches.
Yeah.
So
What now?
so in Vecna took Tarantus. We barely escaped on the first ever airship.
First ever of its kind, right?
We
And
more like crashed.
immediately
out of-
crashed, and then we exited our recap last time of you crash landing into shore.
Yep.
On the right at Dragonport. It's on the coast of the western coast of Telduria, this continent.
And that was like a proto airship that came from Project Omega.
No,
Omega
I mean
Project?
no one. It was actually never explained what its origins are. I think
Arion Black just showed up.
It
with
was
that
a
or something?
secret
Right.
government project in Tarantus.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was complete
Oh,
enough.
right.
there we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Complete enough to get us Yote out of
Yeah.
Atlantis. So
That's all she yelled.
Black, in forging his relationship with the former Imperator of Tarantus, Imperator Titus, he had access to that sort of information.
And we forgot to mention Arion Black as one of the other characters, Dave, that you have, where was previously a DMPC turned just normal PC.
Yeah.
But a very, very important character.
Very important character. Essentially acts as the agent of the Raven Queen.
Yes. Although he is no more able to be agent to the Raven Queen as anyone else is right now, as he is cut off.
Yes, because the removal of Tarantus actually severed one of the magical ley lines
Was that the only one left in the world?
on the continent. The only uncorrupted one left in the
It
world.
was the
only
only major uncorrupted nexus.
the only other one that exists is in the ruins of Ul, which is where the foul upheaval originated.
Yeah.
So magic got a little fucked up after this incident. There's been some strange, like sometimes, occasionally, when you guys have cast spells, undesired effects have happened, seemingly without any rhyme or reason.
Right.
In addition, other less practiced magic users have been seeing lots of things fizzling out or exploding, or just again otherwise having unintended results. And another thing that's happened is you, Jarrell, with your goddess Valen,
Yep.
who is fighting the good fight against Vecna right now, you are unable to communicate with her. You have a helmet that actually is a direct line to her. Is like that's your personal cell, man. If this god had a personal cell, and you can't talk to her no more, and you don't know if she's ignoring you or if you're really just cut off. But Arion Black can also no longer communicate with the Raven Queen, of whom he was an agent of, essentially of fate and death. Like you were responsible for making sure the people who were supposed to die on time or were cheating
Yes.
death were dead.
Literally the Grim Reaper.
Yes. He's been a huge part of the story leading up to here. So yeah, I just want to make sure we did not miss mentioning him.
Nope. He exists. He's around.
He'll be useful again. So
There's a brief trial.
yes. So yeah, that's the thing. As soon as you guys are crash landed,
There was a trial? It was
Yes,
just,
you
I just
were-
remember the interrogation.
It was
Yeah,
more
the
of an
interrogation.
interrogation.
yeah,
It was
you
more
were.
of an
It was more of an
interrogation.
interrogation. You were brought in by the Derekine Protectorate, which is the local governing army and governing body.
Honk Patrol.
In that area, yes.
Yeah, many Aarakocra soldiers here.
Honking
Honking those brains out. Yep.
honking on Bobo.
And they, you were brought in, and you met one of your interrogators, Jimothy Merriweather, and then Bruce Badgerson.
Yep.
Was the other corporal? I think it was Lieutenant Corporal Bruce
These are
Badgerson.
silly names. When did we have silly names in this show all of a sudden? That's crazy.
Since forever.
What?
Since the Dwarfson.
Yeah.
Dwarf.
Did we immediately pick up Dill Bertram after that interrogation?
The moment that interrogation was over, you were essentially let on your way because it was determined you guys did not cause the bullshit that had just happened in Tarantus. However, you were present for it.
and general liabilities to the world at
So
this point.
liabilities, but also like you kind of inadvertently proved yourselves like worthy of actually being able to withstand, I don't know, an attack from Vecna.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of like I don't want to be impressed with you right now, but I'm kind of impressed with you right now. Right. However, no good and lawless adventuring party can just be let out of the Derricane Protectorate and Dragonport without some assurances. So you
became very clear that we needed to be observed.
Yes.
More closely.
So you were sent along
We needed an adult.
with essentially the equivalent of like a Bond company stooge, Dilbertram,
Referred to by most characters as just the Stooge.
the stooge,
Looks like Jeff Goldblum.
but like less
Looks like
handsome and balding.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Who his familiar catchphrase is pretend like I'm not here.
Which you do a good job.
Which at times you guys have done a very good job of that because that's exactly what he wants. He's just there to meticulously take notes of all of the things that you guys do and keep out of harm's way.
Also, most of the time we're not pretending. We just forget he's there.
Also true. Also
Which
true.
as
From
a
a player's point of view.
which as a DM is also perfect because then that gets to be used against them later.
Because both on top of the characters not caring, the players then forget.
Well, yeah,
So you
Quinn thinks that he's writing his fucking autobiography.
Right,
Or, I'm
right.
sorry, his biography.
Well,
right.
Like
To be fair-
he has no recollection of him actually joining the party at all.
Right.
Like he honestly believes that he's just following me around.
That is
Because
exactly
you're the greatest.
what
My
Dil-
hero
right.
story.
That is exactly what Dilbertram wants you to think.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like just following the crash landing after the disappearing of Tarantus, like most of our plot was driven by trying to rebuild that airship.
Yes.
So we had our run-in with this airship for the first time. We got hooked. The first one's free, and we got the taste for that sweet airship. And most of the
Collection quest.
arcs that followed between our last recap and now were collection quests, just trying to piece together parts for our current airship.
Yeah.
The 11 o'clock shadow.
The 11 o'clock shadow. That's right. Actually, that was named by one of our. We put our out there to our audience to help us name the airship, and we got a bunch of suggestions, Twitter, Discord, emails, and stuff like that. And we ended up going with the 11 o'clock shadow, which was submitted by one of our Discord listeners.
Which is probably like one of my favorite things in this show so far because now it acts as basically like a character select board. It's like we have this collection of great characters. We want to switch between them freely.
and we can just drop them off the airship,
Yeah.
and these are the ones that are on this adventure now.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Because I think it's also like we've kind of, because of the fact that it's between, the fact that real life gets in the way. So sometimes like the attendance, right, that we have at the podcast isn't always like 100% consistent. But I'm sorry, like we don't do this for a living, people. No. You know what I mean? But we want to. The show must go on, as they say.
Speaking of which, we should have a mid-episode drop-in for our Patreon. You can donate any.
In case you want to.
I refuse to do a mid roll. I don't want to break the action. I tell you to give us money. I'll ask you for that later.
Well, we will ask.
Yeah, but we will ask, and you can choose not to.
But recreating that airship took up in-game several months.
Yes.
A long number of episodes. How many adventures were it?
I don't know. I think I was DM for a while. I
Probably like
did,
11 billion.
yeah,
Right.
those many. And
Did we first go to get the wood?
yeah, the enchanted wood.
The enchantment.
Yeah, in fact, we actually had an entire episode where it was pretty much like on and off, like just I think overall 30 minutes of wood puns. Most of them were from Zach. It was honestly impressive. That's why I
I
just
thought
named.
that was the name of the episode.
It was why I named the episode Wood Puns because it was
wood
just
puns.
solid fucking gold.
And that's when we had to defeat like a gigantic tree.
Yeah.
There's-
We had to fight
right.
a huge tree.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the other stuff we had to get was gas.
Yep, you had to source some gas for the gas bag, right?
I have gas right now.
We fought the Beholder, which was a great classic monster to fight.
Right, because you came on this village, right? It was these people who were just kind of like living their lives, but the moment you started asking about sourcing this gas, they started getting a little defensive, and it kind of seemed like they just wanted you to leave very quickly. Well, it turns out they were all being mind controlled by a Beholder.
And can I also just bring up a moment in that part of the story arc
Sure.
that I just
Tell me about it.
I think Quinn got off on the wrong foot in a moment of that arc, and he made a bold decision.
Are you talking about the quintatorship?
I love this.
That he honestly felt. I knew this was going to come back up,
Mike,
so I figured I might as well just do it.
You are so twisted.
I think that he, in his mind, or my mind, really felt
You're still trying to make peace with that, aren't
like
you?
it was a really good decision.
Mike, we forgive you.
Now you have to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Mike, help us help you. Help us help you.
And actually,
All in all, it didn't turn out terribly. So
what's funny is that
It was easily one of my top favorite.
Yeah.
Top five favorite
it was probably
episodes.
one of my favorite moments because at the end of the episode, like we all just kind of sat there and wondered if we were all okay.
Yeah.
And everyone was okay.
Yeah, I think that's
It
the
was just, like, the
closest we
most
ever
awkward,
came
like-
to like the band breaking up. Not really, but
Right,
it was
right,
in game. It was like, what even the fuck is happening?
Like I was so on board with defending Quinn that I realized I was actually defending myself.
Right.
And
And then
I realized I was like, I am just gonna stop.
we really do get lost in our characters pretty often, and
very
that's
quickly.
amazing.
Yeah. So like what's funny too is that I actually have it on recording. That's actually in the I think it's in our pinned in our episode talk
Wait, we
channel.
recorded that?
Yeah. Of you admitting you're like, I listened back to those episodes and Quinn was kind of a dick. And I remember,
Notice I said Quinn was kind of a dick.
I think I actually remember pinging literally everyone in the server and being like, he admitted it.
it was definitely one of my favorite moments. I would
It's
say.
fantastic.
Absolutely hilarious.
And that happened. I think that was during the
was the
gas
gas
bag
bag.
quest,
Yep.
quest,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And so with the mind control, the Beholder mind
lifting
controlling
gas.
things, the lifting
Yeah.
gas,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then from there, you guys, I think, went to get.
Well, let's not forget that at that time, Mort had acquired a wife.
Oh,
We learned a lot about Mort then. We learned that he was celibate.
Was that when he found out he had wooden teeth?
Yes. No, I think we knew
We
that
might
for a
have
little
found that
while.
earlier. Yeah. I think that was the hotel.
That he like this pregnant woman that he like rescued from the Beholder, kind of rescued. He asked to marry her.
We
saw-
rescued everyone. from
She
the
saw him as a way out of this village, and then she pretty much just fucked off and went on her own way. Anyways,
She
they never
used him.
actually got married.
No. Again, Jarrell was offering marriage counseling and all that stuff.
He just proposed to her the moment that he killed the Beholder. that's what happened because he was a very impulsive character.
Yeah.
But romantic at the same time.
Yeah, I guess so, but like also a creep. Like such a creep.
It was a weird mix of a lot of
Even
different-
Massimo came up to me some episodes. I'd say, "Man, Mort, I'm sorry. Mort came off like he's just a super creep. I'm sorry. He's like, I really hope people don't think that I'm a creep."
He was always choking people.
I found more lonely. Like
Yeah.
he just was
Right,
so
exactly.
lonely.
That's the thing. I thought Massimo played his character so well
So
that
well.
even I got uncomfortable with some of the things that he did.
That character never burned more brightly than right
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Or burned more bridges than any other
Yes.
character.
Right.
Well,
Unfortunately, burned Massimo out. I think
Yeah.
he just lit his own brain on fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it was like in the middle of this whole collection quest that Massimo took leave. and
Yeah. Well,
Phil
also it
joined
was
us.
like the middle of the summer, and like he just like everything was picking up in life for him, so he just like he just didn't have the time on Mondays to devote. However,
Yeah, he started that Lederhosen company. He started that
among all the things.
digging that hole to the center of the earth.
He's still working on it.
Busy
his
man.
bare hands.
He comes.
Wow,
He
yeah.
has to come up for breaks.
His fingernails were a mess.
Yeah.
It was wild.
But he has told me that before the finality of this show, which I should say, I've named this episode at this point, the beginning of the endgame, we are,
Dun dun dun.
I mean, not like rapid marching, but we are marching our way towards like the cream of the crop, the top, tippity top endgame of this show.
Well, stuff's starting to get crazy, but back then, I suppose we had then gone to the was it Frost Giants before or after the gas collection?
It was Frost Giants after.
After.
It was after
Cloud Giants.
Because that's when we
Cloud
picked
Giants?
up this guy over here.
Yeah.
At the Cloud Giant Grand Hall Castle. I don't know what the
Did
fuck
you
it was.
like
Castle
living
in
with
the sky.
giants?
The Cloud Giants moving castle.
Well, I think they were offering the best free ride, basically.
Yeah,
all I had to do was agree and perform.
And we were
And
talking
perform.
about we were talking about Phil's
a
character,
few-
Hedrick the entertainer.
Yes.
We sometimes forget that people listening at home or in the car or in their prison cell cannot see us pointing to the people at the table.
Yeah.
If only. Right. Yes.
Hedrick was certainly happy to be quote unquote rescued.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think a direct quote is,
Get me out of
you
here.
got to get me out of here.
Yeah, I don't think you enjoyed that at all.
And that was actually quite a bit of change in his dialect.
Yeah.
The altitude at that point
Yeah.
had gotten to him.
And that's when we had to really essentially introduce Hedrick, because at that point also James had left for paternity leave and we sent him off essentially taking, now someone we didn't necessarily talk about, but another big player in the world at large here was Angus Core.
Yep.
So he was essentially a member or the leader of the world's most famous band of adventurers and mercenaries, called Angus Core and the Merchants of Doom. And
running villains throughout
Right.
the whole.
And our party handily upstaged him and beat his ass at the end of one of Dave's arcs.
Dedu actually shit on that man.
Yeah, he did. That's when
Pregnard danced for him.
yeah, and Hobbit has taken Angus Core right to answer for his crimes back to the city of the dwarves in the Grey Citadel.
Which was that concert was Frankie Wilde's first concert back.
Final performance.
The interns had been beckoned to Dragonport
Yeah.
by the main cast. They drove Sir ships a lot to Dragonport. Partially, I think that it was Dedu's fault that it ended up being a plague ship by the time we got there.
Because it was just covered in shit.
Covered in bird shit, among other things, though, because at that point, what Chubbs was just peeing in ferns.
Yeah.
Like there were
Right.
all sorts of things going
It's a
on
bad
there.
situation.
And upon arrival, Sir Shipsalot arrived, and Frankie, as a member of the crew, was notified that he was to be a part of the reunion tour.
Yes.
Yes.
Of his
Frankie
band.
Wilde and the Wild Bunch minus Frankie Wilde with special guest Frankie Wilde featuring Pregnart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was the show.
So that's where Hobbit will be returning from eventually when he comes back. But that's shortly, a little after that. That's when we were reintroduced to Hedrick the Entertainer.
Yeah, he
in
was
the
so
Fortress of the Cloud Giants.
And when we got down to that concert, he was so jealous because he just had to sit and watch. He was just an audience member, and like he still wishes he was up on that stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I also remember that Quinn and Hedrick, 'cause that was the first time Quinn had met Hedrick.
In the castle.
There was-
in the castle,
yeah.
the Clouds Castle. Yeah.
Right. And there was a moment of
Bard v. Bard.
jealous?
Well,
Yeah,
I
we
think-
actually had an episode,
yeah.
Bard versus Bard, because so we had an episode. Our actual official 100th episode of this podcast was actually like
Battle of the Bards.
episode 81 of our main story. But then we had the main story episode 100, which was Battle of the Bards, where we introduced Hedrick. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's fantastic.
And I don't think it's necessarily jealousy because we're in two different colleges. And
Yeah,
I think
sure.
what it is, I mean, imagine like an actor's studio. Somebody's got the lead role, and then there's a supporting actor. And in comes this young gun, and he has to decide, where am I going to fit in this group? I want to shine, but I don't want to upstage.
But let's not
there's-
pretend there hasn't been some jealousy issues along the way for Quinn and a number of different characters.
Quinn is
including
jealous of
Hedrick.
anyone who takes the spotlight away from him.
Yes,
I wouldn't say
Quinn, on the other hand, wants to shine and upstage.
Yes, always.
right.
Well, because he doesn't see the difference between
True. And I think what's interesting with Quinn is that he claims to be a bard and claims to be a good bard, and then comes in a great bard. And I think it gets to the point where Quinn was just kind of like, I need to do something that shows that I am a great bard as well.
So what Quinn did
Right.
was pen a whole bunch of stories about the party and his exploits. However, always making himself
Yeah.
the hero of every story.
So they're mostly inaccurate.
Put all of these messages in bottles.
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say mostly inaccurate. I would say it's mostly accurate with
Some
you in the leading
details
role
altered.
of killing most of the things,
Listen,
and take most of the glory.
Most authors do that.
Well, I
They,
think
they take
Sure.
what's called liberty, and that is what Quinn has done. And is anyone surprised by that?
Hedrick's not in these stories. Like his
Shocked and
story does
wild.
not. It doesn't coexist with
Quinn's stories.
what is
You weren't
written down.
there.
And Jarrell simply doesn't care what
Yeah.
Quinn's stories would say about him to begin. One way or the other, it doesn't matter to him.
But so you sent these messages in bottles out to sea.
I did.
And what ended up happening was I decided, I think I was DMing at the time, and I decided to
amazing.
roll a D100
To spite me,
to just to kind of see maybe how just give me a percentage chance of how successful
right?
is this on a scale of 1 to 100.
I did not anticipate this actually going well.
I rolled a 100.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yep.
And that's how
Quinn-
we were transformed from the heroes of the Kingdom of Vesh to the heroes of Telduria.
Almost.
Or was that? Or
That
no,
was
okay.
That's
before.
what started you on the path from
Right.
becoming from being regional heroes to international heroes.
Yep.
So Quinn's stories started reaching people across the sea.
Well, didn't we decide that
And
all of his
and all over
bottles ended up
Dragonport.
at one
Yeah, pretty much.
one villagers, and then they just kind of distributed them
Right.
from there.
The stories have started to spread, and Quinn became one of the most famous people in this region. And it's kind of shown a spotlight on the entire party and everything you guys do now. I mean, you guys are well known.
For the good and for the bad.
So from there, though, after the concert, after you guys got got Hedrick and everything like that, so you guys ended up building the airship, and then it's when I handed things off to Dave, where we were met by the Centaur for Disease Control.
Immediately after having finished everything was done with the airship, it was air ready, and
Yep.
then we had
Yes, I decided that I was going to take an entire arc to beat you over the head with one pun.
And you did. and actually,
Thank God.
I'll give you the reins on this one to talk about that arc for us. Catch us up on what happened there.
Yeah. So the Centaur for Disease Control, Dr. Rick Zakovac, the only Centaur you've seen so far, but a nice, fairly famous scientist from the Omega Project. And, once you get attached to the Omega Project brand, it's instant credibility, apparently. Anyone listens to an Omega Project
Apparently.
scientist.
Right. and just so everybody knows, Omega Project is pretty much the science faction in the world.
Right,
They run this is the sole organization responsible for all of the most incredible technological advances in the modern world.
And also most of the ignominious ones, too.
Yeah, those two.
Yeah, there's a lot of slap chops getting developed down there, too. But so you are sent to this city, and I can't even remember what I called the city or where I put it, but it was just somewhere to the northeast, I thought.
Oh fuck! I think I wrote that down somewhere.
something home.
Jorvik's home.
Jorvik's
home.
Yes, I did send you to Jorvik's home. I don't know. It sounded fun to send you to a Norse-sounding city.
Those are some of my favorite character moments because instead of Paradil joining us, Pregnart was on what was essentially his first actual real combat mission since his introduction episode.
Yep.
And holy shit, Pregnart just wrecked some stuff.
He did.
Yeah.
He was good at it.
Yeah.
I was proud of the boy.
Pregnart's goodness and purity shines very well against the hordes of undead which I had plaguing that city, while everybody was slowly becoming undead and dying, except for the dying part, which they
Right.
weren't doing.
Just falling apart.
They were constantly dying without ever actually hitting the die part.
Right. And then essentially we figured out was at the bottom of this magical disease, and obviously
His little
all,
Pope child, he was no match for Mr. Bouchon.
yeah, all
Yes.
signs point to undead monstrosities as they are.
Yeah. So
Mr. Bouchonks being the
Dread
animated-
gazebo.
the
Yeah.
dread gazebo.
That-
And that was what I was searching for before. Pregnart has the power of animate objects.
And we decided. I mean, we ruled it because of the size of a gazebo that you are actually legally able to animate that shit.
That interaction
Haven't been
between
arrested yet.
Zach and Dave of clarifying whether or not that could happen.
Dave so desperately wanted to say no, but he couldn't because he
I
knew it was
rules
in the
chessed
rules.
him into
Right.
it. Yeah.
I couldn't, and I mean, rule of cool there. See, the
Also, I
problem.
rules lawyered you.
Yeah,
I
that
think
we've had a lot
an
of
excellent
rules
degree.
lawyering,
Yeah.
and that was one of the like pinnacle of rules.
It was the fly
lawyering.
speed. It
Right.
was the fly speed. Once we found out this thing had no legs, so it's got a flying speed.
Yeah,
Flying
At that
Eagle
point, I
chomping
couldn't
away.
deny it, but it signaled this point where I could no longer game plan combat encounters.
Right.
Because you're just gonna you're gonna throw my scenery at me. Literally throw my scenery at me.
if you guys want to just hear that, like that story arc in its entirety, I think it starts around like the Below the Barracks episodes.
Yes.
Zach is going to pull up the number for you now.
And if you're a diehard fan, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Hey yo. So, yeah, it was fantastic. So like, but yeah, we killed the undead Pope child thing, and
Yes.
the disease was
Cured by soup
cured by Pregnart's chicken noodle soup.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
across the board, because each of the cauldrons that we would find, we'd pour chicken noodle soup in, and it would cure it then.
Yeah.
Because that would purify food and drink, which
right.
is
It
now
was
qualified as.
That was another rules breaking thing that we did.
Yeah, we got really creative that time.
Yes, creative is the
That's
word.
also why I can't properly calibrate puzzles against you.
Right, because what qualifies as food and drink?
Right. But after that arc, right? Man,
What did we do after that one?
that was
We went-
actually
went to the
when
Pirate Cove.
you guys received a letter.
Or Quinn, 'cause Quinn,
because
right.
Quinn tends to receive a lot of letters in this group.
Yes.
I'm the letter receiver.
so popular.
Well, first of all, curing that disease is what has actually got you the title now of the Heroes of Telduria,
Oh, right.
because you were the only ones that could stop this literally never before seen magical plague.
I'm pretty sure that means that Pregnart, having been the chef of that undeniably
Amazing
exquisite
healing
and
meal.
Is a
Almost-
chef of
almost a panacea.
Yeah.
The chicken noodle soup. Chicken soup. Was it chicken noodle?
It was just
chicken noodle soup.
Let's just say it's chicken noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Pregnart maybe has that plaque of Heroes of Telduria hanging up above
Most
his
definitely.
bathtub.
Most definitely. So, after that, you guys received a letter that there would be a never before seen summit of the Southern Kingdoms. So the Southern Kingdoms being every kingdom that is below the sort of mountain range that separates these kingdoms from the destruction and havoc that is the aftermath of the foul upheaval. It's where Last Wall is. It's where, like, in very Game of Thrones fashion, right? It's literally a gigantic wall of mountains sort of standing between the land of the living and the land of the fucking dead and desiccated and desecrated.
We don't have a whole shit ton of awesome battle scenes, but that one where we came back with the portent,
Yeah.
that was an epic scene for us.
Yep.
for
And we
sure.
covered that in our previous recap as well. I
Yep,
believe.
yep.
So,
I remember something about a cudgel.
yeah. Fuck you guys for that one. I don't even want to go back to that. Let's just keep going.
Well, that was the first appearance of Hedrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this
Stands out.
this invitation of the Summit of the Southern Kingdoms came from a very unlikely source. So in
My sister.
your sister, who we've learned is one of the
Don't laugh over there.
Dun dun.
Hedrick cackling.
so
She's my sister.
right.
My sister.
So we learned that your sister is Tessa Southwind, is one of the 3 Sea Lords who run actually the sort of island that that actually Jorvik's home was on, where you guys cured this magical plague.
It totally makes sense.
It's essentially the Sea Lords are pretty much sort of I think I said highly refined pirates essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
It's civilization of pirates.
right.
And they were hosting it there in Ardwall, in the capital,
Probably for
their
safety
capital.
reasons.
Yeah, to essentially bring every world leader together to discuss major world events. That being the undead incursion that is consistently happening from the north.
which we managed to do handedly with Hedrick's compelled
Suggestion.
compromise.
So
Suggestion.
there, you guys met literally every leader of the world of the living.
Mm-hmm.
All of their names, all that details it's actually pinned in the episode talk channel of our Discord as well. Just because I feel like we're just going to waste a lot of breath just like going through all that stuff. But you've literally met from every kingdom in the South, every single world leader.
And to the northwest.
I will not be bleakly referred
Yes.
to. Chief executive demands better service than this.
So we're going to get to that. Of note in those world leaders, though, you have also someone who's referred to as the Troll King, who is the leader of essentially all of the quote unquote monstrous races in his lands and capital of Scrag, which is actually where John's Monster Party arc was based out of.
And ended with pretty much the fall of Scrag.
Yes.
As an undead horde
burst through.
Right. And
burst through the mountain. And now humans and monster kind alike, the beacons are lit and they are fighting side by side.
Yep. All because of Bev.
Oh boy. To prevent the undead incursion and because the greater evil, unites everyone. So that's kind of what's happening up there. And that was actually one of the big topics that was being discussed in this summit. Some other things that happened.
They started the Armada.
Yeah, the big discussion point and why you were invited was to talk about ownership of the designs of the airship, and you were there, both as representing yourselves as the heroes of Tal'Duria and also sort of supporting the Omega Project as this was their initial design, and Chief Executive, who is the leader of the Omega Project. Yes, his name is just Chief Executive. Sounds like JFK.
Or Mayor Quimby.
Yeah.
Much more like Mayor Quimby.
Yeah, right. Trying to essentially they were the Sea Lords and now the rest of the kingdoms essentially decided to co-opt the design of these airships and build a international armada, all because Hedrick put out a mass suggestion to them to compromise, because there's a lot of arguments about who should own the designs and who gets to have this army, and what happens if we win, then what are we all going to do with all these weapons, are we just going to go back to war with each other, really big picture stuff.
Yeah.
As well as also describing where are they going to be if we build this, where are they going to be used for? There's threats everywhere. There's threats, we're into the northwest where the orcs and humans are fighting alongside each other. Last Wall is preparing for another big attack because the attacks have increased there again after you guys had initially sort of staved a lot of those off back when you got the portent.
Yep.
And there's lots of horrible things happening everywhere.
Another big point that we kind of didn't focus on too much when we heard it, but at that summit, we had found out that undead individuals were walking towards the wall wearing Taldurian clothing.
Ulian clothing.
Ulian clothing.
So these are essentially former denizens of the now ruined city of Ur.
I might have misheard that.
And Tarantian clothing.
That's what I meant.
Which means that some of these people were former citizens of Tarantis, the now missing city.
And why they would be in the Crucible land.
Yes.
So
that was we did touch on that, but I don't know if a lot of people caught that. Yes.
Right.
So that is kind of implying that at the center of or somewhere north of the wall, so to speak.
Right.
In the
maybe Tarantis.
In the Crucible lands, right, is potentially Tarantis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also the sort of big picture. That's kind of the end game right now that you're staring at. It seems like all signs are pointing north, but there's a lot of problems that need to be solved in the meantime while it's going to take months to build up this airship armada. What else happened? Oh yeah,
including Project 11, which we were helping. Yeah,
the intern, actually the entire crew went to go investigate what was happening with this gigantic prototype 11, as they called it, which is a massive cannon essentially that gets mounted at the top of a mountain that can fire long distances into the Crucible lands. Oh yeah, Hedrick fucked Quinn's sister. What else?
Really?
There was some nightmares that you guys had for a spooky Halloween episode,
that was
which
a
are
great Halloween
canonical.
episode.
Pay attention to those.
Well, I don't think, have we ever had an episode that was strictly non-canon? No.
Technically we've incorporated everything.
Everything, all the craziness, all the weird characters, all the weird side arcs.
We've created so many roads that trying to converge all of them now is proving to be quite the task.
I once had lofty goals of making a spreadsheet that a time map. And there's just no way that I.
The beautiful thing about having an audience is that someone out there is probably crazy enough to do that.
Yeah.
We've had people send us a lot of things that I couldn't believe, just labors of love that I could not imagine embarking on.
Yep.
So all you crazy people out there.
it would literally look like a flow chart.
Yeah.
Oh,
probably.
yeah.
That's
I can picture
just a timeline line.
Yeah.
Anyways.
When characters were doing what.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you do that,
off from different.
Pay special attention to Spanx Mahoney because there are some Easter eggs. There are some hidden elements to his story that will definitely
come back.
They're going to come back later.
Sure. Yeah.
We're talking about his brother Lick and Kick and all those.
Kick behind you. Forgot about that.
And even with Melvin Illuminumion, like that, there was an Easter egg later on.
I
that
fucking love Melvin.
The Illuminumion clan.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I think it was Elrond and Luminumion is the leader of the High Elves.
Yeah.
Well, he's also at the summit.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Is there any mention of Spanx' mother, Peggy?
No.
Come on.
Oh wow. Oh, that's what some of you are here for, anyways, right? Just the jokes.
Yeah.
The jokes, folks.
Booyah. Winning. Suck it.
We only pretend. we only pretend to
That's how it
play.
works.
We only pretend to play D&D. We're only here for the memes, really.
Yeah.
So so that so all these things kind of happen, and they sort of led you up to this point now where,
We're headed to the northwest.
yeah. Well, I should also mention, right, in just stopping the stuff in the in saving Prototype 11, you discovered that M.M. Mudgett, who was the big evil villain in Dave's murder hotel adventure.
Some great episodes, really.
Well, he was a lich, and you guys killed him, but only destroyed his body. So he just found another one
Happened to be a giant brain.
in a gigantic undead elder brain on mechanical spider legs. Because it'll be like that sometimes. Hedrick lost a bunch of intelligence, has some flying intellect devourers sucked out his brain.
That was a challenge.
Yeah, you had to role play essentially having one intelligence after, and the only reason you only had one intelligence because you were at 0 was because of a impromptu ritual performed by Paradil and Jarrell.
Instructed by Jarrell, but performed primarily by Paradil and Quinn, because Quinn was responsible for the makeup.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, treat yourself to that episode,
There was-
folks, because there's really
there
no
were a lot of
explaining
things
it.
happening.
Yeah,
Also, the source of my favorite catchphrase to date in the show. Taste it.
Yeah.
Can you also just do one honk for us?
yeah, he's disgustingly good at that.
Thank you.
Disgustingly good at that. Yeah, Clown Homer's involved in this ritual. You should just listen to it. It's a great
Hashtag
time.
first try. Hashtag taste it.
It's like
But so you guys, and this is one of the tasks you embarked on while the summit was still happening, because you realized, well, it's going to be like several months until these airships are like done being built before you can actually go bring them anywhere or project their force anywhere. So you're still solving, as the heroes of Telduria, a lot of the other world's problems.
Yes.
And I think that that's kind of where we left off at this point. Was the undead elder brain was slain. Jarrell actually inadvertently destroyed the phylactery
Cool.
of this lich because he just got frustrated and
just
then
straight awesome
nat
is
20
really-
stabbing the thing. So
and we were ready to walk out of the room the moment before that.
right, with his divine sword of justice that literally is built in and was forged to destroy undead things. Like, it was perfect.
Yep.
It couldn't have happened any other way. But that's where we leave off. I've handed the reins over to Dave to take you on this next adventure. Do you want to give the people maybe just a small taste of maybe what they might be in for?
Okay. So, to set the scene, the undead army that has destroyed Scrag is sweeping its way down southeast and is hitting a peninsula that's sort of in between countries called the Trination Peninsula, which is sort of equal distance between the Grey Citadel, the Realm of the Sea Lords, and Scrag.
Yeah, and it's just so you know, guys, these locations we're referencing, we have the map actually pinned on our Discord, as well as you can find it at. We've had the gracious permission of Maxime Plast to use this artwork. It's maxesmaps.com. It's the world of Telduria. It's so freaking cool. Look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sweeping southeast from Scrag is this undead army that has already pillaged and cut off that entire area. And they seem to be sweeping right down into the peninsula, driving, fleeing people of pretty much all races. Anybody out of that roadhouse of a nation that was the lands of the Troll King.
Right.
And mostly humans and scattered in others who lived on the Trination Peninsula are sort of being swept to the bottom there, where those lucky enough to make it are getting boated out. I feel like there's a better word for it. Sort of like the
Ferried?
Yeah, sort of like the evacuation at Dunkirk. Kind of slowly going on for these refugees who are fleeing in the face of this army.
Ooh, this sounds very tantalizing. So this next arc, Felix will be returning. As Dave, takes the reins again, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Like none of us know what's going to happen. We're just as in the dark right now as you are. Yeah. So we will, I guess, see you next week for the start of that adventure. But for now, I think it's time for us to say goodnight. And the way we say goodnight, or good morning, or whatever time it is that you are, is by saying, if you like us, you can find us on the internet. We're on such places as Twitter and Instagram at Hapless Heroes. We have Facebook and Reddit, just Hapless Heroes Podcast. Those places will just point you, they have sticky posts and things like that. It'll point you to our Discord server.
The crown jewel of our social media interaction.
Crown jewel. Like the pinnacle.
Yeah, check it out. There's a link on our Twitter. There's a link
everywhere.
Pinned at the very top of our subreddit.
Yeah, everywhere.
And then I'll bring you straight to our Discord, and that's where we discuss mostly nonsense. But if you find the right channel, which is like the general chat or the
General Cat, that's the right channel.
Yeah, no. The Gold Canary is our
Gold
general
Canary.
chat channel.
name taken from a bar or tavern
In like
featuring the show.
episode 2 or something like that, yeah.
And so that's where we talk about just like if you need some general background on the show or if you have any questions. We have a lot of amazing people in there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
Somehow
discussions
fans
happening
of us.
without us.
Yeah.
At this point. Like, we usually be the ones that foster the discussion. Now it's just happening.
Yeah.
Like, I don't check it every single day. It's most days, but every time I skip a day and go back, something new is up.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of comics, there's a whole bunch of new conversations, and honestly, it's a lot every single day.
It's great.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, we've got a great community there. So, yeah, and shout out to all y'all on there right now. Yeah.
My nonsense brothers and
Yeah.
sisters. And other.
But if you really like us, we would love it if you left us a 5-star review on the podcast service of your choice. We're on all of them. You're listening to us right now, so you found us on one of them. And if they accept reviews, like leave us one, like talk about it, say some nice things about us. If we see your review, we will say some nice things right back about you because we like you. We got a lot of 5-star reviews at this point. It makes me so happy to see that so many of you actually enjoy this wacky thing that we put on every week. And it just it warms me to my core. But if you really, really like us, you could donate to our Patreon, which Zach may have mentioned earlier in this episode. It's patreon.com/haplessheroes. We have a lot of crazy and fun rewards. We have the contents of James's notebook from episodes 0 through 100. We have a bunch of bloopers, outtakes, behind the scenes audio, unreleased episodes of those are the only non-canonical ones that we have. Although that's where Hoblet was born. Yeah, just lots of fun stuff. We're constantly adding to it, so the things I've listed might only, at this point, it's going to keep growing.
If you give us $47.37, I will name your firstborn child.
I mean, and how can you pass up an offer like that?
I'm very generous.
Yeah, we're so generous.
I am generous.
Right.
And if you like us right now, you like us, Sally Field, and the whole deal, splice together the DNA from a maple tree and a bonobo monkey and
Maple Monkey?
is a bonobo a monkey? I don't know.
Yeah, a bonobo's a monkey.
Oh, okay.
Maple Monkey.
And create a species of plantimal that will climb itself. And eventually there'll be a civil war in this.
Between the tree ones and
In the Plantimal Kingdom.
Well, it'll be a civil war between the ones who are better at climbing and the ones who are better at being climbed. And
That was an intentional throat clear.
it was.
and after that happens, a clear winner will emerge.
Yep,
and,
usually does.
And this became parallel to something I did not intend. And, in that case,
Maple Monkey.
try to encourage this entire community to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, come together over our podcast.
Yes.
Stop civil warring.
Come right at the same time. It's rare but possible.
And whoever ends up on top is the winner.
Yeah.
Usually.
Is that how it works? Is that
In this case, I would think the climbing would stop when you win. You're at the top.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just
We digress.
I'm gonna go ahead and take the reins back here one last time to just outro these people that I call my friends.
We are people.
Yeah.
We are people.
To my left, it's Mike,
See you next time.
Phil,
Thank you. Good night. Good morning.
Dave,
Been great. See you next time.
Zach,
I think I'm pretty stupid.
and John.
Until next time.
And I'm Francesco. We'll see you next week for the next leg of our adventure into everything. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Recap.
Bye.